Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. There is a WhatsApp voice note that was sent to us by one of our dear listeners. Please let us try to listen to her voice note. Then we will comment in the comment section.
Greetings, Solution Uncle. I would like to share my story. I'd like to share my story so that the name of Jesus can be glorified, or so that Jesus can be glorified. What can I say is that there is nothing that God cannot do. I'm a living testimony. When I was born, especially at a tender age, it's like I was born into problems. It's like I was born into the world of spiritual attacks and demonic attacks. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, it's like I was born just into troubles. Or it's like I came and I found myself like in problems and troubles that existed before me. Uh, One day while I was sleeping in my parents' room, I was still sharing a bedroom with my parents. I think I was 7 years. I started to see people moving. It's like it was a world, but it was inside my parents' bedroom. It's like a world. People were moving. I don't know if it's ghost or whatsoever. I don't know. And then my parents decided to say that we must no longer sleep with them. We must sleep separately from them. Then we were given our room, and I shared a room with my younger sister. I'm the firstborn in this family. So one day while I was sleeping, it's like I had fear. I had a feeling that there's something going on. It's like there's something that is inside this room. So what happened is that I decided to wake up. I decided to wake up so fast. Like I woke up so fast. I wanted to see what was going on, and I saw like a tall man who was black even in his skin. I only saw his eyes, and he was wearing like black clothes. He was wearing black clothes, and I screamed. When I screamed, this man disappeared through the wall. I screamed, and when I screamed, my father came. When my father came, he said, "What's going on?" And I told him, and he decided to pray. Something like they decided to pray, but still I couldn't sleep. I just sat on my bed, and it's like I saw witches were watching me like through the window, but it was at night. And now my father like turned on the lights because I was afraid to switch them off. So what happened is that I was so scared. And then there was this particular night I was sleeping. Because I was sleeping while I was sleeping, I heard a woman. This woman called my name, called me by my name, and she held my hand. Before she called me or she held my hand, she blew, I don't know, the wind or in the air into where I was sleeping. And when she blew the air, it's like that air took away my sleep. I don't know. I felt it because I was enjoying my sleep. And then after that, she held my hand and she called me by name. She said, "Let's go." When she said, "Let's go," I wanted to scream. I don't know if what she did is like I couldn't move. I don't know if it's sleeping paralysis or I don't know, because I used to call it that I just froze. I couldn't move. When I wanted to scream, she blocked my voice. I couldn't speak. My voice was not coming out. And then in that moment, I heard heaven shaking. I heard heaven shaking. And then I heard God. I knew it was God. At that time, I think I was 9 when these things happened, or 8, I don't remember. Yeah. So I heard heaven shaking, and I heard God speaking. And God was saying to me, "You need to refuse. You must refuse." And then in that moment, because I couldn't speak, what happened is like, because God is all powerful. God made my heart to speak like me, because I don't know, it's my heart or it's the spirit man that is inside of me. I have no idea, because I was a child. And yeah, I was a child, and I didn't know a lot of things about Christianity. So what happened is that immediately I had someone inside of me, or it's my spirit man or my heart, because I thought that time it was my heart speaking, but someone inside of me spoke instead of my physical mouth. And that person told the witch that I cannot go with you, I am refusing. And that witch was disappointed, and the witch left. But from there I couldn't sleep. I'll try to describe, may God help me to remember what happened. And what happened is that this room, like in our room, is like, I don't know, witches or darkness, or I don't know what happened. This room is like witches, like drawn. They decided to draw like faces of ghosts, and these ghosts used to move in this room. They used to move, and when you look at those ghosts, it's like those ghosts, because they were faces of ghosts, like a ghost, yeah, but different of them, and they used to move. Their faces used to move. It's like those faces were alive. And when you look at them, it's like sometimes they used to send an arrow that will pass by through my hand, and it'll just disappear. Because sometimes I used to wake up because I was so scared. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. What I'll say is that we used to go to church with my family, but from growing up, we were taught that we used to go to church. It's like for them, my family, the way I grew up, it's like they used to go to a Christian church, but also they used to go to witch doctors. You see, they were mixing. You see, they were serving like other gods, and this is how I was taught. So even me, I used to go to church, and also like joining them, going to, sometimes they used to even call sangomas, witch doctors, something like that. This is how I grew up. I thought this is the way of life. So it happened that I kept on having like different attacks. One day I decided to speak. Yeah, thank God, and at least, yeah, nobody will know my name. So one day, I told my family, I told my younger sister I cannot sleep. Then I told my family that I cannot sleep. They wanted to beat me. My parents wanted to beat me because I couldn't sleep. And I told them I couldn't sleep, and I didn't understand why. So from there, I decided to keep quiet. But after some time, my younger sister told them that still I cannot sleep. And now I think I was 12 years. What happened? My parents called a Sangoma. When they called a Sangoma, I still faced attacks. And then they called a false prophet. Yeah, a false prophet. That false prophet was using things, and he poured salt in my room. I don't know. If vinegar. Yeah, used those things. He did his rituals. Still, it stopped for a while. But what was happening? Yeah, it stopped for a while. I was no longer experiencing attacks. But what was happening is that I was no longer experiencing attacks, but there was something moving like under the bed. Every time I was sleeping, it's like someone is coming, is holding a stick, and is entering under the bed, and that person will leave like that. I used to experience those things. I grew up, and then in 2009, I woke up. When I woke up, I saw the day was different, but still, I saw the day was different, and I was asking myself, wow, this day is different. It's unlike other days. It was on a Wednesday. While I was working, I saw everything different, and God began to call me. And then I heard a voice that was saying that you need to go to church. You are dead spiritually. I was so concerned. I didn't understand. We used to go to church here before, but at some point I stopped going to church. Even though I told you that we used to mix here because this is how I was taught. So this voice says that you need to go to church because you are dead spiritually. I was so worried because I couldn't understand what this voice meant when it says that I am dead spiritually. So, by God's grace, I went to school. I met one of my schoolmates. She invited me to church. And after school, I went with them to church. When I went them to church, I told them that there is this voice that is telling me that you need to go to church. And I said to them, I feel like God is calling me. And then we went to church, and then I explained everything to the man of God, that there is the voice that says that I need to go to church, I'm best spiritually. And he led me to Christ. But I forgot about those attacks because After that false prophet did whatever he did, for a while they were not happening. Yeah, then when I went to that church, it was, let me tell you something, it is a true church of God. I was there, but for me, my case was different because I needed deliverance. I believe in deliverance because a lot of things happened when I was young, so which means somehow I was dedicated to something. But what I thank God, because that church is the one, I can say the teachings of that church, they made me to stand the test of time. They were preparing me of what was coming. You see, so what happened? I fellowshiped there for 2 years. I don't know, because of the way I can say I wanted to speak in tongues, ended up speaking in wrong tongues. I didn't know. I thought they were tongues from God. So that is why I couldn't connect with God, because my tongues were not from God, were from darkness, but I didn't know. You see? So, but going to church was a good thing. That man of God couldn't discern that my tongues were not true tongues from God. I don't blame him, but he played his part because the teachings he was giving me, because they made me to stick to I can say to stand the test of time, even though I still needed to learn a lot of things, but those little teachings somehow they made me to stood and hold on to my God. So and then in 2013 I started to see, okay, I stopped going to church because I fell into fornication and I was afraid going to church. And then what happened, but in our church we didn't believe in deliverance, but there's this man of God, I think many of you know him. He appears on television and you connect to him via the screen, or you touch the screen. So God started to introduce deliverance to me through this servant of God. And when he started to introduce deliverance to me, then I was seeing different cases, and I was like, no, I need to be delivered. Something is wrong with me. I was like, no, I think I have something like this. I think I'm facing something like this. Even there were no attacks. My daughter was 3 months by then, because I've already given birth. What happened? I started to pray with the servant of God, because I'm like, no, there was something wrong with me. You see, so God had to teach me, or he had to give me knowledge about deliverance, because I didn't believe in deliverance. But right now I believe in deliverance. I started praying, and I was still there in our family house. I started praying along with a servant of God. The more I started praying, the more I started to experience attacks. One day, it's like I was having sleeping paralysis, and I was attacked again, you see. And this time it was worse. It was nothing. What I experienced while I was a child, it was nothing compared to what I experienced in 2013. In 2013, I'll tell you until when. It was nothing compared to that. So what happened is that after some time, sorry, yeah, I was just disturbed, but let me continue. It was nothing compared to that, because I kept on praying, because I wanted this thing to go. But I think I was lacking, because, yeah, I started praying. I'll tell you what happened. I started praying with that servant of God. And then one day, I woke up, and then a monkey or a gorilla was on top of me, a very huge gorilla, and a snake was on top of my head. I'm talking about something that happened. I saw it physically. This is not a dream. I started to be afraid. I said, these are the things that now these things were fighting back, because now I started, like, I had knowledge about deliverance, even though I didn't know a lot of things. The more I kept on praying, even if the more I kept on praying, because I wanted to be delivered, I started to see things. I started to see witches entering my room. It's something that happened. I started to see witches entering my room, and I saw them physically. At that time, I saw witches entering my room, and I saw them physically. It's like I'll have sleeping paralysis, but my eyes would be open. Immediately, like I'm attacked. It's like, I don't know. I'll open my eyes, and I'll see that witch, and the witch will disappear. I started to see strange things. Sometimes I'll have sleeping paralysis. I'll be sleeping on my bed, but it's like in the middle of the night, I will feel like I'm sleeping on top of a very big snake. And that snake was moving. It is not a dream. It happened. And in those moments, I'm having sleeping paralysis, and I'm top of it, and I could tell that this snake is a very big snake. In that moment, I don't know. In that moment, it's like at first I couldn't pray. I was so afraid. I was so shocked. I couldn't even fight back. Then I experienced attacks. I started to see different things. I couldn't sleep anymore. Sometimes I'll be sleeping. It's like someone will be blowing the wind. I used to have sleeping paralysis. I will cry. I will say, God, your word says you need a sleep, no slumber. But what is really going on with me? Like I saw a lot of things. I'm trying to remember. And then it went on and on like that. And then I went to a certain pastor because I was now fellowshipping in another church because I was forced to fellowship in that church, but it was a true church of God. I told the servant of God that I no longer sleep. I see things. That pastor decided to pray with me. The attacks became more and more. Let me tell you something. When he decided to pray with me, those attacks became more because I had fornicated and had a child at home. So I decided to obey my parents as well. They said I must be involved in the Sangoma things. Well, they did some things on my daughter because according to the culture, when you give birth, you take the child to Sangoma and they do some things. I did those things of Sangoma things not because I wanted to do those things, but I did those things because I was afraid that they would chase me. But that pastor, I opened up to that pastor and I told him everything. And he said to me, I'd rather be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I decided to tell my family it was all, but I prevailed and I told them, don't do this to my daughter. And I told them that I was facing attacks. They say, you say you're a Christian. If it was for us, we're gonna call a sangoma for you. But since you say you're a Christian, there's nothing can do. I said, no, don't call a sangoma. God will help me. In those moments, I felt so alone because I went church to church. I went to those powerful churches. I went church to church. And it's not that those servants of God are not anointed, but there's something that was missing. I'll say it when I finish my testimony. The attacks became so worse. I saw witches. They were crying. I saw different people. Sometimes I'll be sleeping and having sleeping paralysis, and someone will just appear. I don't know the person, will just speak and disappear. Sometimes many people will come. I saw a lot of things. I nearly got mad. Sometimes a snake will attack me in a point that it entered like through my anus, like I don't know, through my body. It's like it's somewhere like it's rolling. I mean, my legs, something like that, and I'll cry. It was so terrible. It was so terrible. I no longer remember a lot of things because God is wonderful. But I just want to share how wonderful is God. I kept on experiencing attacks even when after that pastor prayed for me. But what I like, that pastor told me, I will never stop praying for your freedom. In those moments, people of God, I couldn't pray. I couldn't pray. As much as I say, yes, I was in a true church of God, I thank God because that church made me to stand fast and hold my faith no matter what, because I refused to seek sangomas concerning my situation. And then one day I decided to go to another brother to meet him, to tell him about my situation. When I told him, when I went to meet him to tell him about my situation, what happened is that I met another lady and she told me she was delivered from a spiritual life because I thought everything, I had a spiritual life. I didn't know it was deeper. Then she invited me to a church. I decided to go there because she said she was delivered from a spiritual life. When I went there, sometimes God knows what we want. We may think we know what we need, but we don't know. Only God knows what we need. When I went there, I received teachings each and every day. I was taught warfare. I was taught that I needed the word. I thought I needed deliverance. But before deliverance, I needed the word. I needed to be taught the warfare prayers. I needed to unlearn some things because it's been taught, stop using these tongues. Those tongues are not from God. I stopped praying using those tongues. I started praying, yeah, but it never stopped. It went on and on. I was still facing attacks. The same things were happening. I was even crying. The servant of God came, I remember, because he had to come as soon as possible. In our church, there are protocols. So I wrote something they gave to the servant of God. So the servant of God, I decided to come to me, say, I was looking for you. We need to fight back because these demons love you. I was like, Pastor, what do you mean when you say these demons love you? He says, you don't understand, but I understand. He prayed with me. I was fine, but I couldn't maintain the deliverance. The fault was not in him, the fault was in me. But I thank God I held on. And what was happening, this pastor, it's like he was instructed to have services every day. Every Friday, we're having like all night prayers. So I used to be at church, even though I was experiencing attacks, even though I was not sleeping, even though when things were terrible. It was from 2013, ne? It started 2013 to be worse. So I started going to church. Until the death of this pastor. I went to church. I started to go to church, and this pastor is late, but his teachings is what is keeping me. So I really want to thank God for this pastor. What I needed was the word. I was taught to study the word. I was taught warfare prayers. When I decided to seek for God by myself, I started to encounter God, and my life became a history because I started to encounter God. I started like to have a personal encounter with God, and my life became a living testimony. I'm not saying I no longer experience attacks. I do, but I know what to do. But unlike before, most of the time I sleep freely. You see, that is why, as much as we've been experiencing attacks, we must know what to do. Now I know what to do. I study the word. I pray. I no longer fear demons. I never thought that a time will come whereby I will not fear demons. But here I am today. I don't fear demons. So I want to advise my sisters and brothers, because there was this one who said, even when she looks at herself in a mirror, she sees a demon. I want to tell her that God is able. Pray, first thing first, ask God to remove the spirit of fear from you. I used to have fear. Ask God to remove the spirit of fear from you. That's number one. And then start praying and studying the word. And I'll advise you to do warfare prayers. May God lead you. And there's this other brother also, sorry to say to Raya, there's this other brother who also said that his father confessed that he's a witch. There is nothing, my brother, that is impossible with God. I saw demons face to face. There is nothing that is impossible with God. Just study the word and pray. Just give your life to God. There is nothing that God cannot do. Just surrender your life to God. Sorry, solution uncle. I wanted them to hear from me where I come from. Are there a lot of things? What I will say is that even today, sometimes I do see demons. I remember, I don't know, there was a time, I don't know, I think maybe that man is the devil's Lucifer. That man came, there was a man who came and entered my room. And when that man entered my room, he was still holding a guitar. I told that man to leave, and that man left. Obvious, you'll be traumatized, but God is my shield. I run to God for safety. Yeah, but it's unlike before. I know what to do. I know what to do. I can sleep anytime I want to sleep. Those days I couldn't sleep. Whether it was at night, whether it was the afternoon, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was in the evening. I couldn't sleep. But today I can sleep. So what I can say is that you must go to a true church of God, study your word, and start praying. I remember sometimes when you are trying to seek for deliverance, they will fight you. So you have to be strong. What I will say is that on my case, what I'm facing, it is because of my parents. I've I've discovered that my parents are serving darkness, and I've discovered that my younger sister and my younger brother also serving darkness. I don't hate them. I pray that God delivers them. So I'm just trying to speak to those people saying that their families they are attacking them. I just want to tell them that all things are possible in God. What I can say is that follow Jesus. What I can advise you is that in this world, follow Jesus, not men. Follow Jesus. When you follow Jesus, you'll never be misled. Have a strong relationship with Jesus. In a way that I'm having a relationship with God, that even when I'm not fasting, when I am praying and studying the word, even if I feel like I need some sort of deliverance, God delivers me. I'm telling you, because I remember that at their church they say I'm delivered. And not necessarily that they prayed for me, but because of my relationship with God, I was delivered. So you must know that we are at war, and we must always be prayerful. So don't give up. It is possible. And I just want to speak with a sister that says that she was given a gift that made her to be barren. Don't fear witches, even if they come. All things are possible. God can deliver you. God can deliver you. Just continue to be prayerful and do warfare prayers. May God lead you. May God lead you. Thank you.